I can't have you on the channel, Hugo. I can't. I just can't.
But why on earth not, TGV?
The last time I allowed you here, you broke one of my cameras, you bit 2 Philadelphians. I can't have that kind of heat on me right now.
Oh, come on, old sport. Don't be such a rotter.
Why don't you let me review a watch?
Absolutely not. Do you remember the whole D. Wellington debacle and having the Swedish mafia after us when you did that review?
Well, listen here. Why don't you get those lovely chaps at Watchbox
To lend me a watch, I'll review it. If you don't like it, you don't have to post it.
Well, it would help me out. I am very behind with my video production, but you know, you've got to take it seriously. How about a Rolex Air King?
Moi? Wearing a Rolex? Far too common.
My warden, who brings me my live goats, wears a Rolex.
Where's the goat?
Okay, what about a Patek? Perhaps that's more up your alley.
A little too new money for me.
But would make a nice beta watch.
Right, okay.
You forget, darling, I'm a Mountbatten.
No common blood in these veins like you, dear boy.
Okay, fine. But please don't mess this up. I'm gonna FedEx you the watch tomorrow to Isla Nubla, okay?
So this is the dial here, and this tells the time.
It's made out of gold, which is, you know, if you have an allergy to anything that is not precious metals, like me, yes, it's definitely for you.
It's scratch-resistant sapphire, which is very handy if you're got razor-sharp claws like me.
The loom is rather handy, because especially in the jungle here.
Look at this splendid movement, full of...
Lots of complicated little things moving about.
As for the value, well, if you're frightfully rich like me, it doesn't really matter, does it?
We'll do diameter first.
Blasted human calipers.
Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. Today, a very important unboxing because Timex are back with another automatic watch. Now, let me do a wristwatch check. Wearing my Pepsi GMT there, and it is actually on a bracelet, on the Oyster bracelet. I just wanted to see what it was like again. I'm already missing the Jubilee. Let's talk about Timex. So I actually reviewed the 38mm, when was it? 2 years ago now, I think, and I loved it. It's about $130, quartz, really cool design. They had gone back into the archives of their military watches because, of course, Timex have an extremely long, prestigious history. Pretty much all the conflicts the United States has been involved in, from Vietnam to Korea to World War II, you name it. In the 1950s, they had military contracts to make the guidance systems and gyroscopes for the American missile program. Before that, they have been going since 1854. They're old, you know, they were making clocks. So that back then they were, of course, the Waterbury Clock Company. So very, very deep history, and it didn't really stop after the quartz crisis because then they switched to digital watches, the Iron Man, there was the Data Link, which was even worn in space. They developed their own technologies like Indiglo, so many iconic watches under their belt, always at the entry level. In fact, in the 60s, they became, I think, the world's largest manufacturer of wristwatches. The Marlin, which was then reissued famously a couple of years ago, which I've always been a fan of the originals. I was delighted when they came out with the manual wind. And then, of course, they followed up with the automatic. I think that was last year, if I recall correctly. I always wanted to see, and I think I said in my review of the Navi Harbor that, my God, if they made an automatic version of this, they would wipe the floor with the competition because the design was so, it was just a really unpretentious, original, compelling, clean, functional design, and I loved it. Sure enough, they pay attention to the watch enthusiast, because it wasn't just me saying it should have been, available in automatic too. They followed up, they listened to the good Gentry, they listened to me, they listened to you guys, and they've made an automatic version. Sorry, excuse me, I'm gonna have some coffee. And as soon as I learned that it was released, I had to get one in, because I wanted to see what the fuss is about. Now, they have made some slight changes, as you'll see in a moment. So without further ado, let's look at the unboxing, and then we'll come back and discuss it in a little bit more detail. I'll do a quick knife check. I am using the old Hannibal Lecter, which I introduced actually in the last unboxing. I absolutely adore this knife. I haven't been this pleased with a knife for quite a while, and that's a bold statement. I mean, don't get me wrong, I adore all my knives, but there's just something different about this, and as you see in a moment, it's so good for like unboxing and doing like pulling cuts, as you'll see. Anyway, without further ado, let's make the first incision. Drum roll, please. Oh, wow. Okay. Here it is. So this is the automatic Navi. And the dial is that's interesting. It's like a seaweed or a moss green. Let's, and there's a display back as well. Okay, here we go, right. Managed to get the plastic off. Unwrap it. Put that to one side. I love that green. That green. It's really subtle. It's very subdued. It's going already, and judging by that's got to be 21,600, and they don't actually state. Oh, there's more plastic on the back, I think. Yeah, I'm just going to remove that. They don't actually state what movement it is. Very carefully not to scratch the watch. They put a Miyota, the 8215, in the automatic Marlin, which I didn't review. I kind of skipped over it. It's brushed on the side, which I like, and then it's entirely brushed, and then with a high polish. Let's see what the bezel's like. Oh, it's actually ratcheted. Wow. Okay, a little bit of wiggle, but it's 120 click. Actually, that's quite tight, but wow, that's crazy. Hold on, let me just take my gloves off. That's a really nice action. I can't believe the action on this. So it's 100 meters water resistant, which is, so it's not a true dive watch. It's not going to be ISO compliant, which is understandable at this price range. This is a $250 watch. Sorry, I can't get my gloves on back now. Movement Japan. Yeah, there we go. It actually says Miyota. There we go. 21 joules. Yeah, I'm willing to bet my money it's the caliber 8215. Which is a great movement. It should have manual wind. I wonder if it's a screw down. It's not a screw down. That's interesting. It's not hackable. That's a shame. We get quick set. Let's see what the loom is like. Really nice, generous sized indices. So it's very legible in daylight. Let's see what it's not bad, It's not Lumi Bright, it's not Seiko Loom, but it's definitely got good orientation. I love that they've kept the hour hand skeletonized here, so as it passes the 24-hour print there, it will tell you what the hour is, which I really thought is nifty. This design, apparently, according to the Timex website, is based on some of their earliest dive style watches. So it's really cool that finally it's not just dress watches, but they're doing sports watches in automatic. Just shy of 41 millimeters, interesting size. And I did like the colors on the dial of the quartz version, but this green is actually quite surprising. It's not as brash as like a Hulk green. It's so subtle. The strap, I'm not too keen on the strap. What is the strap? Let's have a look. From Minnesota, USA. Right, so there we go. And on my 6¼ inch wrist, it wears really well. The lugs curve down nicely. I'm not too fond of the strap, just not my style. I'm not fond of the color. That's just my preference. But it is solid. It does match the watch. I quite like the glossiness of the bezel insert. And I'm pretty sure it's just a mineral glass of both on the front and the back. I do love the amount of detail there is on that dial. There's even double little mini indices right at the edge. I'm not sure if you can see that, and they are framed. I was skeptical about the green, but now I think this will be cracking on a NATO strap. The matte texture, it's not immediately recognizable as a green, but anyway, yeah. Right, let's take it back to the war room. So here it is, and already I can see some things I'm not keen about it. I am impressed by the bezel action, I have to say. This is more like a diver. Obviously, little nods with the Cyclops to the Submariner. It's got its own personality, which I do respect. I'm not a fan of the display back. The Miyota is nothing really to write home about. It is one of the most utilitarian movements out there. It is nice if you're just getting into watches so you can see that magic. The Miyota is perfectly fine. You know, it's been going since 1977. It is a bit kind of dated. I mean, you see it in a ton of micro brands because it's affordable. I would have liked to see this with a screw down crown. You know, imagine if they did a professional version of this that was ISO compliant with like 200 meters water resistance with, you know, superluminova, sapphire. And imagine in ETA, I mean, yeah, it would be nearer $1,000 rather than $250. But I have to say, I am impressed, and I've got to give Timex respect and kudos because they are listening to you guys. The reason I bought this is obviously because I wanted to see if I can recommend it, and right now I can recommend it. Just looking at the case, it is nice, really nicely put together. There's no misalignment of anything. The quality is there. It's a very particular green. I've never seen this green before. There are a few Oris watches that come close to it. Not a fan of the Cyclops. Obviously, I would love a no-date version. I think that would be amazing. The size is absolutely fine. Great size. Just it could have been a smidgen thinner. My favorite feature has to be the hour hand. I think it's a really slick way of doing 24-hour time there. Very cool and very unique to Timex. I think it's what really set the original Navi I reviewed apart. One thing I would like to say is that I was a little bit disappointed at their website. I think the lack of information about what the movement is. They talk about its inspirations coming from their archives, and trust me, they have a very extensive, never-ending sea of designs. With the Marlin, you've got quite an extensive history, and there are sites dedicated to that lineage. I would love to see Timex share some of the inspiration and a bit more of the technical details involved in the watch, just for the enthusiast rather than the newcomer, because I know that they're very aimed at competing with the fashion watch market, which is great. I love seeing real watch companies, and I mean with serious history like Timex, that have added to the history of horology. It's good to see them competing at that level. So I understand why they want to simplify their website. It would be nice for them to also cater to the watch enthusiasts as well. But yeah, that's my initial impressions. I'm so glad to see Timex back doing what they should be doing so well. You know, affordable, well-designed, tastefully done. I just love that dial. That dial is cracking. Let me know your thoughts, queries, comments, opinions, all the rest of it down below. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of the new Timex models, and if you want me to review it in the comments below. Oh, and don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, found it useful, and as always, guys, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao. Now, before I go, guys, I just want to quickly tell you about this extremely cool app that Watchbox have launched. This is my own personal go-to app for everything watch related. Using the app, you can keep track of the real-time value of your watch collection. You can store watches in your digital watch box and even try on watches using an augmented reality. So don't miss out, and please go to the App Store and download it today. You can access all of my latest videos right there in the app itself. And if you haven't already, please follow me on the official Urban Gentry Instagram and of course the Facebook UGWC. But most importantly of all, keep it positive, onwards and upwards.